Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Monday, December 15th, 2025, and I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, defending free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. Okay, so glad to be back with you here on a Monday. Whew, we've gone through a really murderous weekend, and we always hate that during the holiday season when things ramp up like this. But there's so much involved here, and we're going to dig into some of it, but also the Russia-Ukraine stuff and the European threat is now being ratcheted up. So I'm going to be getting into that very soon. So I always start by saying thank you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you so much, Joette, for the donation. Thank you for everybody supporting monthly. You truly keep this channel going. And so if by the, in the holiday spirit, if you want to support this channel, supporting monthly would be so fantastic. All right, let's jump in to the news. Oh, but I do have to plug my fantastic and awesome sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. This is the incredible product that is considered the miracle molecule, ESS60, the purest on the planet of carbon-60, made in the best lab in the world in Houston, Texas, who has been doing it the longest and providing the carbon-60 that's used in all of the studies, et cetera, including the Nobel prize that won it for carbon-60. And they're doing incredible holiday sales right now. It's a great time if you do use C60 Evo to get it for the year, because there's 40% off on 6 bottles or more. I love the capsules. The olive oil is super potent, made in an incredible place. The olive oil single sourced out of Tunisia, where it has been made for decades and decades by the same people, the same genetics over and over, super pure. I love the facial serum as well. Check out their holiday sales. I believe there's a couple more days that it can still get there for Christmas. c60evo.com/YAFTV. And you do need to go to that site to get the holiday sales. And the code for 10% off, if you don't want to use the sales, is YAFTV. And then we've got 15% going to everybody who's ever supported the channel. You get that code and link sent to you. So thank you so much for letting me plug. It's what keeps the channel going. So it has been, this weekend has been off the charts crazy with all the murders, okay? It's just been so nuts. And of course, the Brown University murder, a murder of the 2 students, and Ella Cook being the vice president of the Young Republicans there, is extremely dubious. So we'll be touching in on that in a moment. But I think I'm going to start this video just getting into the Ukraine-Russia situation and the USA-Europe situation, as we're watching this come out, that Europe is really now going full bore to hold the US hostage in any way it can. As you know, on Friday, I talked about how they had gone and done emergency treaties to be able to indefinitely seize the Russian assets out of Euroclear. And in Belgium, against every warning from Belgium, from the European Central Bank, from everywhere, we got von der Leyen on a tear. Miss European International. European International was, of course, the Trotskyite group that was created during World War II. Basically, it was prior to that, and it is about creating a new world order. And these people are nuts. Okay, Angela Merkel being part of that that European International before, and Angela Merkel being from East Germany, socialist. She's always been a socialist, and then she brought von der Leyen into power. So von der Leyen, who put these emergency economic treaty, passing those on Friday, basically saying they're indefinitely using these Russian assets that they're going to use as backing all the loans that they're going to force the European Union to do. We're having Italy, and we mentioned how last week Trump had come out and whispered possibly that there could be this possible breakup of the EU over their ruining of Europe, and Italy being possibly part of that happening. And Italy has come out and basically said that the EU is refusing, that they're basically hobbling any peace deal. And now today, besides the assets, besides the wanting to create the NATO stronghold, the Death Star there in Ukraine, to get all this money to kick off World War III and to build a massive military infrastructure in Ukraine, and to go to war indefinitely with Russia, of course, to destroy the United States and Russia and Europe. And it, of course, is the West and the Christian West, but it's also the thing they're always trying to stop is the USA and Russia getting together, because that literally is what makes the peaceful world possible. Okay, if the Russia and US are together, then we literally have a chance of stopping what is the one world government takeover by the globalists. And so what we have today now with von der Leyen, that is very distressing, is this new economic warfare, as we're having, of course, Witkoff's team meeting there in Germany with the Zelensky team, and all of this going on, and Russia warning how, and Russia who's just now, almost taken all of the Donbass, and Trump coming out and saying, Ukraine, as part of this deal, they have to give up more regions of the Donbass, that there is going to be, Russia has won. Okay, Russia has won. And they have to, as part of the peace plan, understand that that territory has been taken in war. And it is a war that our own secret, deep state government, International, has started and wanted to kick off, and they lost. And so what's coming out now out of the EU is this new plan where they are now, and there's been a warning that before Christmas there'll be a massive stock exchange collapse, that they're going to hit economically to try to totally destabilize what Trump is trying to do to recover the economy here. And what we're seeing now is the threat that they're using, that if the USA won't give Article 5 level, that's as if Ukraine is a NATO country, if they won't give Article 5 level security guarantees, meaning US military involved in protecting Ukraine, which Trump has said over and over he won't do, even though there was just $800 million, I believe, that came out of the NDAA the other day that's designated for Ukraine. Well, this is the EU's nuclear option, is to try to hit economically the United States with dumping $2.4 trillion, okay, in US Treasury bonds, US Treasury debt, basically, that they are saying, if you don't do this, we are going to massively crash the economy. And this could be worse than the 2008 crash if they literally just dump all of their security bonds. Their treasury bonds is $2.4 trillion. That would have a massive effect on our economy. And that's what they're now at and what they're looking to do. And so as we look at this, I want to get into it a little bit more. Let me see here. There's some more about this. We've got Salvini out of Italy warning that there is basically just this huge threat that basically Salvini is saying that they're being held, okay, they're being held hostage, okay, by the EU Commission, to basically try to bring all of Europe into this war with Russia that nobody wants, and that they're going against all of the peace plans that President Trump is putting forward, and coming out strong with Italy, that this is about the USA and helping to make a peace deal with Russia and Ukraine, and the EU should stay out of it. So this is very interesting, because as we look at all this happening, we also have Japan also having this announcement that they've raised their interest rates to 0.75, which seems, wouldn't we love to have interest rates like that, 0.75? But they've been doing this. They have 1.1 trillion, another 1.1 trillion, and U.S. Treasury bonds, which is about what is basically their carry trade. Where you've had numerous huge, everybody up in there, Vanguard, BlackRock, all of them, all of this connected with this carry trade in Japan, where it's been at zero interest. So they've been using this collateral, this leverage at zero interest to borrow all kinds of money, do all kinds of deals, everything. And so if Japan now is going to raise this up to 0.75, that's less than 1%, it's going to have a massive effect, okay? Massive, instant, huge effect on what those companies now owe, all the using of that carry trade. So it is very interesting because this stock market crash thing has been a plan that everybody's been warning about, that's supposed to come around Christmas. And this combo of those two between Europe and Japan could have a huge, enormous effect on the economy, as Trump is struggling so hard to get the economy righted. And nobody, all of his enemies, all of the globalist cartel Babylon, don't want the economy to succeed here, of course, and they're all, of course, throwing out the affordability issue as somehow being Trump's fault, which it is not. He does not have magic powers to instantly make our almost destroyed, nearly in total death throes economy somehow magically come back. So this is interesting because at the same time, you're seeing von der Leyen also push this so Europe is now becoming the new America, okay, where they're going to full fiat leveraging of the economy, whereas before they were never allowed to go into this kind of mass debt scenario, and they're going for it now full bore. And one of the things that she's doing now is now announcing this kind of H-1B style agreement with India and other countries coming, where she is putting out that they've created a new secretariat where no, they're not going to shut down the illegals, they're not going to stop the migration invasion, they're going to bring more in, and it's going to be on these H-1B style visas out of India primarily. Again, this coming out of the area that has a lot to do with Tamil Brahmins, considering themselves Abrahamic. This is about university scams, creating false diplomas to these Indians that then get brought in as indentured servants on low wages to come and fill the positions that they are sent to go and do. And she says we have France, Germany, Sweden on board with this, and they're trying to force other countries to take this on board as their new level of how they're dealing with the next level, okay, of the European takeover by moneyed Indians who can own these companies that then bring in the H-1Bs that then go on from there. And so this is what's going on. I think it's pretty important to note. And so I might touch back into that at the end of the video, but that's sort of the play, is to threaten the USA. If they don't give security guarantees over Ukraine, they're going to dump 2.4 trillion in US Treasury bonds. So that's huge. That's a big card to play. So this is what's going on. So what we're dealing with. And so moving from there, just a quick note, it looks like Dan Bongino truly is leaving the FBI. It's being reported now in mainstream news. It's been reported on multiple places for a couple months now. But it does look like he is emptying his office and leaving. So it's interesting to see if that will happen. Perhaps this Brown University shooting might have put him over the edge over the weekend, because that, I think, is one of the most disturbing things. All of the murder and mayhem and evil has been awful, whether it's the 2 soldiers killed in Syria by the ISIS that was created by our deep state government with John McCain and all of them. Whether it is, of course, the massacre in Australia, where now they're going to put in all the legislation they already had planned and ready for this to further strip Australians' possibility of ever getting weapons, guns to arm themselves against their disgusting government. Um, Plus massive, massive censorship laws, and of course, under the guise of anti-Semitism, etc. That's all coming. We'll get into that in a moment, but I think I'll stick here with this murder in Brown University. So this is very interesting because there should be absolutely way more transparency. So something is going on here at Brown. So we have Ella Cook, who's a vice president of the Young Republicans, murdered in her seminar at Brown University during finals. There was a TA, a teacher's assistant, that came face to face with the shooter. But there's no information that's come out about this person except for a couple ridiculous videos. This is a campus that has over 800 cameras. There's cameras everywhere at Brown University, Ivy League school, uber wealthy, $100,000 a year to attend there. And Ella Cook was only 19. She was from Mountain Brook, Alabama, and she was an extremely apparently very gracious and fantastic person, and spoke in the midst of that huge liberalist pit to for young Republicans, and it's just so odd. It's just so odd. And also, this shooter said something. We still don't know what was said in that hall, and the cover up here is really ridiculous. At least say something. Say, it's Kash Patel again. It's the FBI has seized everything. Okay, the FBI has seized everything about the Brown University shooting, the capture of somebody, and then the releasing of that person, and then this, we have no more information, and still there's a shooter out there, but nobody needs to worry. You can come back to school. It's safe. So they would only say that because they must know that there is some plot that went on here that is not what is being told, which nothing is being told. So it is very disturbing, and it's interesting to me. I just saying, that of course we have Erica Kirk meeting with Candace Owens today in Tennessee. No news has come out about that since I've started, since before this video got started tonight, and it's all just very interesting. What's going on? Ella Kirk. Ella Cook. Ella Cook and Erica Kirk. But Ella Cook, just shot down in cold blood, and it's 3 days later, and we don't have more information. It's very reminiscent, though, of September 10th, where there's only a couple crappy videos of Tyler Robinson. There's no nothing. It's no details, no nothing. So I don't know, but I'm just saying, I expect there's going to be a lot coming out that we're going to be finding out about. And of course, the other man who was killed, something like Mohamed Umerskov, an Uzbeki student, who was also the other person who was killed, and multiple, of course, injuries as well. So it is very sad and disturbing, but it is, I think that I don't believe in random shootings. I just I don't. I believe that whether it's Australia, Syria, Brown, and Rob Reiner and his wife, I don't believe these are random or accidents or just having to do with craziness. I believe that there are larger forces at work, and I believe that we'll be seeing some of that come to play. And let's move into Rob Reiner for a second. It's interesting, as his son Nick has been rolled up and was arrested without a warrant. Okay, so basically he's being held supposedly on $4 million bail. And so Rob Reiner and his wife are murdered in their home in the early hours of Sunday, and they're holding the son, Nick Reiner, who has a large history of both, drug-induced violence and, massive drug addiction. And last night, or excuse me, the night before, supposedly they're at a Christmas party at Conan O'Brien's, and there's all of that goes down. Big fight ensues there, and it's public and whatever. And now Nick Reiner has been arrested, but without warrant. And so they have about 48 hours from the time of his arrest to come up with some sort of DNA evidence to show that warrant, that holding him, that he is, a valid suspect, etc. And so it's all very interesting. Everybody's focused on Trump's remarks about Rob Reiner, but when you look at, I put a link below showing, Rob Reiner's history, and Rob Reiner was not a small player, okay, in the blue corruption, okay, in everything to do with what went down with the 2020 election. I believe that he was a large player in that. And everybody keeps focusing on how, they keep putting out these talking points like Rob Reiner said that how Charlie Kirk was murdered was horrible and horrendous, and that Rob Reiner believes, he said himself, he believes in the teaching. I'm Jewish, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus, and the golden rule and all this, and I believe in forgiveness, etc. That's all fantastic, said like a couple weeks ago, okay, but hugely connected with the whole Zuckerbucks, ballot boxes, huge, the getting the Hollywood together to create this massive media storm against Trump and MAGA and everything else. And I believe, well, no, for entertainment purposes only, it's possible that involved in much more than that. Okay, much more than that, connected with many things that we don't know about. And I'm sure there are many things that we don't know about in what the Reiner family has been up to. And so it's very disturbing and awful. Okay, throats slit, multiple stabbings, this huge, awful mess. And it'll be interesting to see if Nick Reiner remembers anything that went down. This is what Rob Reiner had to say about President Trump. President Trump has no soul. We are looking into the face of evil. Okay. And so it's all very interesting at the end of the day, just what ends up happening, and horrific what happened. But I think way deeper, way more to come as far as what happened there. Okay. That's my spidey sense, shall we say. Okay, and so then moving on from there, going into, of course, the situation of Australia, I feel kind of the same way. It's awful. It's just disgusting. The mass murder that happened there in Australia in Bondi Beach. And, within 2 days, they're like, we're putting in these new laws and they're going to be censorship and anti-gun. And now we're going to see England arrive, the UK arrive in Australia, where the massive arrests for people speaking out online are going to become absolutely normal. And you're going to be seeing a huge taking away of civil liberties. And it is awful what happened. And it's also very interesting, that Eli Schlanger, the rabbi who had said how awful it is that Australia would declare there be a Palestinian state, that he ends up murdered during this celebration of Hanukkah in Australia. And I continue. A father and son, Pakistanis, decided they're going to do this massacre. I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe they just suddenly thought they were going to do that. And I believe that the orchestration of these events is always what ends up coming out over time. And it just goes to show again the fodder, the consideration of that this greater good, it's okay to go ahead and obliterate dozens of people if it pushes your one world order government plan forward. And so it's very, very disturbing. Of course, they're immediately blaming the connection of Iran with these father and son, and of course the wonderful um, Muslim man Ahmed al-Ahmed, who stopped the shooter, etc. It's just all so perfect. It's just so perfectly set up. And so this is all very, very interesting as we're watching this unfold. And so I'm going to, I think, jump from there to a couple of things that we do need to do that go beyond all of this, which is that we really, really need to get active for 2026, because all of this murder and mayhem is secondary to, I believe, what Trump said over the weekend at the Christmas party and today again in the press conference about all of the information is coming out so hard and heavy about the election seal of 2020, all connected up with Venezuela, what's going on there, and that all the evidence is coming fast and heavy. And basically, they have already gone after another four states for the DOJ suing the states. This is, of course, the wonderful Harmeet Dillon in charge of the election. Well, actually, there's another woman too who has a great name that I can't remember right now, in charge of all the election fraud and gathering all the evidence. Well, four more swing states, well, not just swing, but uber corrupt states, Colorado, Hawaii, Massachusetts, and Nevada, being sued because they won't give over their voter rolls. And as I mentioned on Friday, one of the things that will be coming once all of the evidence is presented in the 2020 and 2022 election steals will be that the voter rolls will be declared null and void, and everybody will be having to re-register to vote in front of a county clerk with a notarization on that registration, with full proof of who you are. And of course, Georgia, huge new lawsuits against Fulton County, Georgia, and all of the election fraud and steal that went on there. And Trump has come out and said, the quickest way to do this with the elections would be to get rid of the filibuster. That way we could get um, election laws passed, okay, for the right way to do elections. In person, no machines, in person, paper ballots, hand counted, same day, no late voting, no mail-in ballots. And if you want that, okay, you want to call 202-224-3121. That is your Senate. You ask for your senator's office to say what you want, as well as 202-224 2321 for Thune, for the leader of the Senate, for Thune, the head of the Senate, basically to support this ending of the filibuster, because we have a very short time before they're going to do it to us. If they get in 2026, our chances for that will be over. And so it's very exciting to see, as we're seeing, of course, Mike Lindell running for governor. I want to urge people in Minnesota or Michigan nearby, people who want to volunteer or donate, MikeLindellGov.com, MikeLindellGov.com. And I also want to let people know that he's actually out there saying, as this comes out, it's all going to come out, the election seal of 2020 and 2022, and the machines and all of it, that it's all being lined up, ready to go. We've worked so hard and we're almost there. And that the executive orders are going to come after that for the redesigning of the elections and making it impossible not to follow those new laws. And so if you have to get ready to volunteer as a ballot counter for the 2026 elections, no matter where you are, what county. And think about on Wednesday, precinctstrategy.com. The call on the 17th is going to be massive, talking about all of this. So go to precinctstrategy.com, get on that call for Wednesday. I think it's at 2 p.m. Eastern, but I will try to fill you in more on that tomorrow. But it is just really very interesting to see. One of the things that could come out of this, and should, is the nullification of the Biden stolen presidency, just the complete nullification of it all. And that brings into perspective that it was stolen from President Trump as being the rightful winner. And he didn't get to serve that term, and yet he was elected again for this, in 2024. And is that the gateway of a Trump third presidency, third term? Interesting to think about. I think it is really interesting. And of course, one important thing to note with the wonderful Mike Lindell running for governor of Minnesota, Mike Lindell, gov.com, volunteer donate, is that he said day one, the Minnesota flag is getting rid of its Islamic new connotations, going back to the original Minnesota state flag, which I love. But we have another problem in Minnesota, and Royce White, who I've been talking about in my last video as well, he is going to be, I believe, trying to primary out Tom Emmer, who is House Whip. Okay, he's running for Senate. He's running for House? Wait, what is Royce White running for? I believe he's running for Senate. Okay, maybe he's just calling out Tom Emmer, who is the House Whip, basically saying that Tom Emmer, as he's out there whipping votes, okay, and his besties there with Johnson, is that he is he's the emeritus head, or he's the figurehead of the Somali caucus, the Congressional Somali Caucus, okay, in the House. So we get Emmer, who is right up in there, okay, as a giant friend of the Somalis in Michigan, and central part of the caucus in the Congress. And thank goodness for him getting that out. That's very important. So what Trump had to say over the weekend is that the election evidence is piling up and it's going to be presented soon. And of course, as we look at Tina Peters and what's been happening since Trump is trying to force this pardon, it's important to remember that Colorado was also the same state that tried to get, along with Maine, to try to get Trump off of the ballot. Okay, they tried to prevent Trump being on the ballot in 2024. These are the people with Jenna Griswold and, of course, Governor Polis that have put Tina Peters in jail. And what does she have so far to show for it since is now she has a 4-inch mattress instead of a 2-inch mattress. So that's something. She got a microwave out of the deal. And she has guards that go with her everywhere she goes. But basically no health care, persistent bad cough. Okay, we know how that goes with the pneumonia and everything else, and what she could be exposed to in there. And so we're praying constantly for Tina Peters that she gets freed immediately. And I could get into the LA New Year's Eve attacks that have been thwarted. I'll do it real quick. But we have, of course, a U.S. attorney out of California, Bill Assaili, basically saying they foiled this plan to BOMB at least 4 locations on New Year's Eve, calling themselves it's the Turtle Island Liberation Front, but apparently the really hairy people are part of the Order of the Black Lotus. They always do these names. The Order of the Black, they're the New Weather Underground. They're trying to fashion themselves after them, who are, of course, Barack Obama's teachers. But we get, Bill Ayers and what's her name out of Chicago, where he came and basically worked for them to get his platform in order. Well, this is who we get in LA with Turtle Island Liberation Front being basically nativist. We're all on stolen land and just anarchist. The capitalist government is evil and take it down by any means necessary. Audrey Carroll being named, the woman being named as the head of this. And so they were able to track them down to this remote area, this camp in Lucerne Valley, I believe, in the Mojave Desert. and arrest them. And it's just what's just so amazing here is this is the exact movie, One Battle After Another, which if you've never seen, never do, never do. It's awful. It's really awful, awful, awful. And Leonard DiCaprio and all that crap. Sean Penn, the usual suspects. Speaking of Rob Reiner, and speaking of Robert De Niro, and speaking of all of these people, okay, who have been paid numerous amounts of money to do really bad things to destroy our country and our election system. And so this is the exact plan of that movie, basically. And so it's very interesting to watch it play out in real time, and how they always are doing this with the same playbook over and over. But a couple other really amazing things that have come out is massive Democrat laundering money schemes, to do a lot with straw donors with their campaign funds. And this is coming out huge and quick. Gretchen Whitmer, John Ossoff, Cory Booker, huge amounts, at least $200 million uncovered so far, in straw donors. An outfit called GMMB Consultants being central in this. I'll link it below. Great article out of the Gateway Pundit, where we're seeing also out of the FEC, Federal Election Commission, this is all being uncovered, and fantastic to see that it's coming forward faster and faster. We know the Act Blue, speaking of Rob Reiner, huge into the Act Blue fundraising machine, super connected with the drop boxes, connected with the fraud and the money. But what we get here with FEC data being uncovered is the seditious six, who would be, of course, Mark Kelly, right? We talked about him and his twin brother Scott running the Ukraine United fundraiser, where they made something like $400 million last year. That's going to places we know not, but to basically fund themselves, and their one world government. Elisa Slotkin, CIA, Brennanite, Jason Crow, who's leaving government, and so doing what he can on the way out. Chris DeLucio, Chrissy Houlihan, and Maggie Goodlander, married to Jake Sullivan, who is also besties with well, definitely Mark Kelly. Okay, but there's more than that. So that's the seditious six, and they're all tons of FEC data coming in on them having their own Smurfs, which is the term for these straw donors, of these massive accounts, of made up or dead people over 80. Okay, with just millions of dollars in small donations, and so it's going to be great to see. We're also seeing that HRC and her Clinton Foundation money from foreign countries, being a pay-for-play scheme for her as Secretary of State way back when, basically pay for the executing favorable policies for them coming, and this is involving Russia, and we all know that HRC was the Russia collusion. It was her, and so that's all coming out too. That we're basically seeing the investigation into that was shut down by Andy McCabe, and it's going to be part of. They're trying to build this long rolling conspiracy case to basically undermine the U.S. Electoral process, undermine. It's just a giant, ongoing, rolling treasonous coup against the United States, and certainly against conspiracy against rights of the American people in all of this. So this South Florida grand jury conspiracy case is supposedly meant to roll in January. So we're praying that that all happens. And okay, so let's see. I'm going to probably make it a bit of a shorter one today, because I believe tomorrow is going to be kind of the big one. But I might just top it off with this. You know, the acid attacks, right? We've watched all across Europe, and it used to just be in Islamic countries, right? These evil, awful, disgusting acid attacks against women. It's always against women, where you have an Islamist throw some chemical weapon on a woman and try to always to target the face and And it's hit America now. It's been happening in the UK now for a decade. Now in Savannah, Georgia, we have a Muslim acid attack against a wonderful woman who's now suffering from, massive burns, like 50% of her body. Please pray for her. This is Savannah, Georgia, in a historic park called Forsyth Park, where all these parks used to be, where were our safe havens, where we go out in nature, be with the public, just have lovely times. And we're seeing that these parks are where all the attacks are happening, the trails, the nature trails, all of it. And so it is very, very disturbing. So that has happened, and it is very, very sad to see. Okay, so I might leave it there for today. Um, I will just say one more action point. We really want to support HR 4392. HR 4392, this is calling the House, 202-225-3121. This is really important because this is about protecting children. It's called the Protect Children's Innocence Act. And MTG's behind this one, with many, many others co-signing this bill, making it a felony to perform gender surgery on children. And you would think, hasn't that happened yet? But no. Basically, it is still being slow walked. And so we really need you to call your House members, or 2777 for Mike Johnson, 202-225-2777 Mike Johnson, 202-225-3121 for your House member, or billblasterapp.org for House or Senate is a great way if you want to just do it through your phone. Billblasterapp.org, and they have an app you can download if you want, or you can just do it straight on the internet. We need to get these bills passed, and we need all of our participation. Okay, and so yes, I am going to leave it there. Yes, sorry, I'm getting taken into more stuff, but I'm going to resist it. A shorter one today because I know tomorrow is going to be massive. And as we're looking at this, we just pray. We just pray. We pray that God will intervene in so much of the mayhem that is going on right now. It is so important, okay, that we put on our armor of God, that we just stay in the good. We understand that all things can be are meant to be made good for God, and that we just stay focused on that, and just try to keep yourself centered, keep yourself in your right mind, in your right focus. And we know already the tomb is empty and eternal life is there. And so we do everything good that we can while we're here to make humanity free. And so I'm going to leave it there for tonight. I thought I might throw in a couple more, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tomorrow do a longer video. We're going to have a lot more details then to dig into. I think that Ukraine-Russia is huge here, with Europe's threat to totally decimate the U.S. economy. And it's no surprise. We're already at this war, and as much leverage as the Trump team can get with parts of the EU, we already know that so many of the Eastern European countries want this European Union to be stopped and neutered of its ability to be this totalitarian control system over all of these nations that signed on, and it's not easy to get out. So we're going to pray for the people of Europe. We're going to pray for the people of Australia. We're going to pray for all the souls who have been murdered over the weekend. It's really despicable and disgusting. So, God is good. We are at His mercy, and we pray. So thanks so much for watching. If there was something valuable you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so below. Check out the sales on c60evo.com/YAFTV if you want to support your own body's health and wellness, to clean out your mitochondria and stay healthy in this year going forward. Check it out there, c60evo.com/YAFTV. And I appreciate all the support you can give to the channel. Tomorrow I'll be back, and we're going to be digging in deeper with so many of these questions. I'll see you then. You are free.